Hey guys, it's Miss Brackney. Today we're going to be solving each word problem involving rational numbers and write out the problem as we are going to solve it and then type it into our calculator and of course remember our labels. So let's start with number 19. At my birthday party, the boys, this should say 8, 4 and 4/4, I'm so sorry, 4 and a fourth pizzas and the girls ate 3 and 7/8 pizzas. How much pizza was eaten at the party? So I'm going to start out by writing out my numbers. That will be my first step. So I know 4 and 1/4, and then 3 and 7/8. So if I know that the boys ate a certain amount of pizza and the girls ate a certain amount of pizza, and I want to know how much was eaten total, I'm going to add these together. And that will give me my answer. So if you guys don't remember how you are going to type it into your calculator, you're going to start with the first whole number, then that ABC button, then the second number, which is, in this case, the numerator, then the same button, and then the denominator. Now you're going to type in your operation because there will be no ABC button in between a number and an operation. It will be just that number, then the operation. Now I'm going to type in 7, the same button. I don't know why I said 7. Yeah, I typed in 3 first. Then I typed in 7. And I'm going to type in that button one more time and 8. And now I'm going to type that into my calculator super fast and we're going to see what we get. So 4 and 1/4 plus 3 7/8. So you should get something that looks like an 8, then a big U, and 1/8. So again, that U just tells me that there's a space between that first number and the fraction. So that means my answer is 8 and 1/8 pizzas were eaten. Now I'm going to circle that and move on to the second one. So I bought 3.5 gallons of paint, but I only used 2 4/5 gallons of paint in my bedroom. How much paint do I have left? So I'm going to start out by writing out my mixed numbers. So I have 3.5, and then 2 4/5. So if I started out with a certain amount of paint and I only used this amount, and I want to find out how much is left, I'm going to subtract the amount that I used from the amount that I started with to tell me how much I have left. So I'm going to type in 3, then the fraction button that looks like this, then 1, and that same fraction button, and then 2. Now I'm going to type in my operation, which in this case is a subtraction symbol. What's going on? Then 2, same subtraction symbol. Now 4, same subtraction symbol. Then 5. Then the equal sign. So we're going to type it into our calculator just like this. And you should get 7/10, or 7/10, which you can write out like this. If you ever get an error typing fractions or decimals into your calculator, all I can recommend is to try doing it again, do it really slowly. And if you get a different answer than the ones that we are doing right here, again, I would just try it again. So my unit for this is gallons because we are looking at how much gallons of paint we have left. So I'm going to say 7/10 gallons. And then I'm going to circle it and move on to our next one. Wow, that was a really bad circle. Okay. Moving on. The perimeter of an equilateral triangle measures 6 3/4 inches. What is the length of one side of this triangle? So I'm going to start by drawing my triangle here. Well, I'm going to attempt to draw my triangle. There we go. And if you guys remember, an equilateral triangle tells me that each length is going to measure the exact same. And the perimeter we get from adding up each length. So I'm going to start by writing out my 6 3/4. And if I know that there is 1, 2, 3 sides in a triangle, and each side is the same length, I'm going to divide my total perimeter, because this is how much each side is when it's added together. I'm going to divide that by 3. And this will tell me how much one side or each side of the triangle is. So if I wanted to type this in, I would do 6, then that fraction button, then 3, same fraction button, then 4, then my division symbol, and 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and type that into my calculator super fast. So 6 3/4 divided by 3. So you should get something that looks like a 2 and another U. Remember that U just means a space between the first number and the fraction. And 2 1/4. So that this tells me that each length of one side of the triangle is 2 1/4. So now if I wanted to redraw my triangle here, I could say that each length is 2 1/4. And my length is measured in inches, so I'm going to write down inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and circle my answer again. And then we're good to move on to the next one. So Sue jogged 1 5/6 miles. What distance did Tom travel if he jogged twice as far as Sue? So I'm going to start by writing out 1 5/6 because that's how much Sue jogged. And we're trying to find out how much Tom jogged. But we know that Tom jogged twice as much as Sue, so we're going to multiply Sue's distance times 2 to get Tom's. So I'm going to type in 1, then my fraction button, 5, then my fraction button, and then 6, then our operation, which in this case is a multiplication symbol, 2, and then we're going to click the equal sign. So now you're going to go ahead and type that into your calculator and see what you get. So 1 5/6 times 2. So you will likely get something that shows like a 3, same U, which again just means a space, and then 2/3, which I can write this out as 3, what in the world? I don't know what's going on sometimes. 3 2/3 miles. That is how much Tom jogged since he went twice as far as Sue did. So I'm going to circle this. And then move on to our next one. Miss Rockwell less money on an investment at a rate of $4 per day. Describe the change in investment after 2 weeks. So we know that 1 week equals 7 days. So that tells me that 2 weeks equals 14 days. Just because if I multiply each times 2, then I know that 2 weeks is 14 days. If I know that she is losing $4 per day, I want to think back about our integer keywords for negative and positive. Losing is going to be a negative $4. And I'm going to multiply that times 14 because I'm losing $4 14 times. So I'm going to do negative 4 times 14. Now this is not a fraction, but you're still going to type it into your calculator as normal. So just negative 4 times 14. which should give you negative 56. So you can say she lost $56 after 2 weeks. Alrighty guys, 2 more left. Researchers investigating water levels, I can't speak sometimes, water levels lower an underwater camera at a rate of 4.5 feet per hour. How long does it take the camera to reach 2 2/3 feet below sea level? So I'm going to start by writing out 4/5 feet per hour. And we want to know how long it takes to reach 2 2/3 feet below sea level. So I'm going to put my negative here because I'm thinking of negative as below. Below would mean negative. So if I know that we're doing something per hour, per helps me remember that I'm multiplying. But the key is we don't know how many hours it is to get us to 2 2/3 feet. So our goal is to figure out what that is. So if I wanted to do that, I could rewrite this equation to be 2 2/3. And instead, if I'm multiplying this by our number we don't know, I can divide it to get rid of it and move it to the other side. So 4/5. And again, the 2 2/3 feet below sea level, it's going to be a negative. And then the 4.5, again, is underwater. And we're going down, so it's going to be negative. So now we're going to write out 2 2/3, or I'm sorry, negative 2 2/3 divided by negative 4/5. Because we know we know our total depth, and we're dividing it by how much feet it goes down per hour to find out how many hours it takes. So if I wanted to type this into my calculator, I would do negative. The negative symbol looks like this. It's right next to the equal sign. Then 2, ABC button, 2, ABC button, 3. Then divided by negative, then 4, ABC button, 5, and then equal sign. So I know that a negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive. We learned that last unit from our integers unit because they will cancel out. So I know I should end up with a positive number. So I'm going to start by dividing these. So 2, negative 2 2/3 divided by negative 4.5 or 4/5. So you should get a positive 3 and then U 1/3, which again, that space tells me that it's a whole number, then a fraction after. So it'll be a mixed number. So that means it'll take me 3.5 hours if I'm going at 4.5 feet per hour to reach 2 2/3 below sea level. So I can circle this again. So now I can say that negative 4/5 times 3 1/3 will equal negative 2 2/3. All right, last one. A running back carries the ball for a gain of 6 yards each play for 3 plays and a loss of 4.5 yards on 1 play. Calculate the change in the ball's position. So just by reading this, I can tell that there's probably going to be 2 operations involved. So let's start and just look at a gain of 6 yards each play for 3 plays. So I can tell that a gain is going to probably indicate a positive number. So I'm going to start with 6. And if we know that we're getting 6 yards per play, and the running back did that for 3 plays, I'm going to multiply 6 times 3. Now I can look at the second part, which says a loss of 4.5 yards on 1 play. So, and right here, and will always probably indicate an addition. Same with our pizza and everything, and is adding. So I'm going to write 6 times 3. I'm going to put these in parentheses to help us out, plus. Now a loss will indicate a negative number. So I'm going to start with negative 4.5. And if he did that for 1 play, then I'm going to multiply that times 1. So I know this looks a little insane right now. So start by looking at just what's inside the parentheses. So 6 times 3, we don't need to type this into our calculator. If you want to, that's totally fine, just double check. 6 times 3 is 18. And negative 4.5 times 1 is going to be the same number. So it'll just be negative 4.5. So now we can type this into our calculator. Now we just have a simple addition problem. So we're going to type in 18 plus the negative symbol that'll look like this, 4, that ABC button, then 1, that ABC button again, and 2, and then equal sign. So let's go ahead and type that in here. Again, we are adding 18 plus negative 4.5. So that will probably show you something that looks like a 13, that U again, and 1/2. So that just tells me that the change in the ball's position was a positive 13.5 yards. And I'm going to circle this again. That means if my running back started over here, he would have gone 13.5 yards over here. All right, and then that's all for today.